long story short, they finally realized that, hey, these customers are right. Let us create a product that they will actually work with. Like we've heard this feedback so many times that it's time for us to adjust. And so the issue with that was that he let ego get in the way. And so that's actually the third point. Ego, get out of your own way. Like, don't let your ego stop you from creating great customer service or creating a great business, right? What's up, fam? Before we get into today's episode, I want you to go check out our website at www.igotdreamspodcast.com and subscribe to our emailing list. We are creating the ultimate accountability group for entrepreneurs. So if you are an entrepreneur, if you are a business leader, if you are a dreamer, we want you to be a part of our group. All you got to do is go to www.igotdreamspodcast.com and subscribe to our emailing list, and we'll take it from there. This thing is going to be bigger than us, and we want you to be a part of it. Again, go to www.igotdreamspodcast.com and subscribe to our emailing list. Now, let's get back to the show. Let's go ahead and jump in this lesson. So, section 3 is learn, right? So I got 4 points. I took away 4 points from this lesson, right? So point number 1 is learning is essential to growth. That's on page 38, right? Learning is essential to growth. And the book mentioned this thing called validated learning, right? So validated learning is the rigorous method of demonstrating progress, but one is embedded in the soil of extreme uncertainty in which startups grow, right? So that's validated learning. And essentially what that says is when you are starting something new, right? And you have no idea if it's going to turn out good or if it's going to turn out how you plan, right? The validated learning comes through when you get customer feedback, when you see that something is working and you continue to do that thing that is working because it's just validated that your idea is working, if that makes sense. So validated learning is you're only going to learn as you go, right? And when something is validated or when your product is validated, and you learn what worked, versus what doesn't. So that's what the book talks about validated. So you have to learn what the customer wants, right? So what the customer wants, and you do that by feedback. You do that by, again, putting your product out there, getting customer feedback and adjust as needed, right? And so validated learning also helps you to realize what part of your strategy is actually working. So whenever part of your strategy is actually working, that's what you want to continue to do. And so that also leads me to my second point, which is value versus waste, which is on page 47. So value versus waste. So the part of the strategy that's actually working, that's creating value for your customer. The parts that aren't working, that's creating waste, right? And so we want to create value and not waste. And so let me get to this page real quick, page 47. So value versus waste, right? So in other words, which of our efforts are value creating and which one are wasteful? Like I said, when you get that customer feedback and you start to learn, okay, this is actually working. Let me continue to press deeper into that. And or you realize this isn't working, so let me pull out of that. And so the book tells this story about when the author first created his company, INVU. And so he spent a number of months, right? Probably up to a year creating this product. And when him and his team put it out there in the market, they realized no one wanted it. And so they started having case studies with their clients, trying to figure out why no one wants this product. And so the customer was actually giving them feedback, right? But they were they were taking it, but not necessarily like implementing it, if you know what I mean. It's almost like they were saying that, okay, this is just this one person's opinion, so this they don't know what they're talking about. Like we have a great product, right? But they heard it from so many other people, right? And so, long story short, they finally like realized that hey, like these customers are right. Like let us create a product that they will actually work with. Like we've heard this feedback so many times that it's time for us to adjust. And so the issue with that was that he let ego get in the way. And so that's actually the third point. Ego, like get out of your own way. Like don't let your ego stop you from creating great customer service or creating a great business, right? Because people will tell you what they want, right? And your job is to give them what they want or find a balance between what they want and what you have to offer. That's actually the fifth point. Find the value or the product of what you offer versus and what your customer wants. Like find that balance, right? So I'm gonna go back to ego real quick. So they spent a year or so creating this product. So the guy really became attached to what they were creating. They were all in there saying, "Oh, this is gonna be the world's greatest product." Boom, they put it out there. Nobody wanted it. Why no nobody wanted it? We need to force them to want it. And they actually tried to like during their customer discovery. They were like, well, why don't you use this? Why don't you share it with your friends? And people were telling them that it's not cool. They're like, but it is cool. The couple were like, but it's not. I'm not gonna recommend anything to anyone that I would not use, right? And they were telling them what they wanted. And basically, the platform that they were telling them that they wanted was a platform that they could then use to gain more friends, right? The product that the author in his company was running was basically a way for them to connect with their existing friends, but the customer wanted the platform to connect with new people. And so ultimately they changed the product, and once they changed it, they started to see their business grow, right? They started to see like, hey, this is actually working. And so in the earlier stages, they had like low numbers, like really zero numbers, like no one was using that product. But when they went and adjusted based off the customer feedback, they started getting like so many downloads. They're like in the tens of millions like right now, which is insane. And that's just from customer feedback. And so the book really focused on like the process. And we've talked about this before in sessions 1 and 2 about adjusting quickly, right? And so the author was really talking about like why did it take so long for them to like learn this lesson, and like was that really the point? Could they have cut down on the time if they would have just went ahead and put the product out there and get customer discovery? And so that's that's ha- that has been the premise of this whole book so far. Like create something, don't spend a lot of time create the minimal valuable product of a thing, the MVP, create that, put it out there, get customer feedback, and adjust as needed. So when I coach entrepreneurs, that's the first thing that I tell them to do is talk to customers, right? Talk to your customer because you don't want to create anything that they're not going to use. But when I say talk to them, it's not necessarily going out there telling them like what their idea is, but it's getting feedback based on their ideas. Like let's just say, for instance, like their idea is to start a podcast, right? You want to start a podcast. That's the business. So what I need you to do is go out there, whether it's you start with family or friends or whoever, and just say, hey, you listen to podcasts. And so, yeah, I listen to podcasts. What type of podcasts do you listen to? Well, I like business podcasts. I like motivational podcasts. I like learning something different. It's like, okay, cool. Like I'm actually considering starting a podcast, and it's going to be a motivational podcast, inspiration. Like, is this something that you will listen to? And they say, absolutely. So based on that customer feedback, you know, like, hey, your product might be good, like your service may be good. So then, and you constantly do that. You know, you might run into somebody and just say, hey, um, I don't listen to podcasts, so you know I won't be of any help to you. So they'll let you know right there that that's not your ideal customer. But based on the feedback you got, now let's move into the other phase, and that is to create that minimum valuable product or create that first episode to allow people to to listen again, give you feedback, and then adjust as you go. Like, I'll be honest. So I'm creating a podcast right now, the I Got Dreams podcast. And like I did my first episode, my first recording with my homegirl, Kimberly Richards. It was an amazing episode for me. Like I went back and listened to it. I was like, oh, this is amazing, but that's me. Like it's my product. So of course I'm gonna think it's amazing. But what I did was before I even put that episode out, I sent it to 3 other people to get their input on it. So I can then know when it's time for me to do my next interview, what do I need to do differently? Do I need to ask a different question? Do I need to be more sociable? Do I need to like make my guests feel more comfortable? Whatever it is, based on that feedback that they give me, I'm going to adjust as needed. But I'm not going to adjust so much to where it change my product. But I'm going to adjust. I'm going to adjust according to their feedback to make me a better overall host. And so that's really the thing. That's the point of this entire book. Well, so far, you know, we only in session 3, part 1. But so far, it's just been create a product, put it out there, like create a product, like a minimal valuable product, the MVP, put it out there, get feedback, and then adjust. And you keep adjusting, keep adjusting, keep adjusting. So what I want you to do this week is to talk to potential customers, right? About whatever your idea, whatever your product is. Talk to your potential customers and get their feedback. Again, you talk to them in a way that you're not telling them like what your business is, but it's just you getting feedback based on like not based on the idea, but based on like the premise of it. Like again, I'm gonna stick with the idea of podcasting, right? So like, do you listen to do you listen to podcasts? If you do, what type? You know, like what interests you about the interview? You know, questions like that so you can then take and implement it in your product. Yeah, yeah. And so that's that's what it is. So I'm like for the points again, the points for session 3, which is learn. So learning is essential to grow. That's part number 1. Um, part 2, value versus waste. 3, find the balance between your vision and what the customer would accept. And 4, your ego. Take your ego out of it. Yep, keep improving until you get your product market fit. Exactly. Keep improving until you get your product market fit, David. That's exactly right. And so you get that product market fit by getting your customer feedback. Right? That's very important. But hey man, that's it for today. Homework, talk to potential customers as many as you can just to get that feedback. And what it does is talking to customers, you're actually building that community as well. You know what I mean? Like you're building that community of people that's going to provide you feedback because when you finish talking with them, you say, hey, can I have your contact information? You know, so when I put out this product, I would like your feedback, you know. And so now you're creating a community, you're creating a team that's then going to help you along your way and be the ones that feed, right? So, y'all, that's it for today. I love y'all. Have a blessed and wonderful day. Peace. Bam. Thank you for listening to this episode. I know you just received a lot of value. So, look, here's what I want you to do now. Go to our social media platforms on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok at I Got Dreams Podcast everywhere, and like, comment, subscribe to all those channels, and let's continue the conversation on there. Look, I told you before, we are creating the ultimate accountability group for entrepreneurs, and we want you to be a part of that group. So go ahead, like, comment, subscribe to our channels at I Got Dreams Podcast everywhere, and we'll see you there. Peace.